This interview is a part of the Oklahoma Historical Society's oral history program, Living Legends Collection. This interview was originally conducted on May the 7th, 1971. The interview was conducted by Mr. Pendleton Woods. The interviewee is Mrs. Rosanna Harnage McDaniel. That's capital MC, capital Daniel. Mrs. McDaniel is a former student of the Old Cherokee National Seminary for Women. This interview was done in Tahlequah, Oklahoma. This material was copied on November the 18th, 1988 for inclusion in the permanent collections of the Oral History Program by Judith Michener.
For the Oklahoma Living Legends. Today is May 1971. We are at Tahlequah on the campus of Northeastern State College, and I am interviewing Mrs. Rosanna McDaniel. Rosanna Harnage McDaniel. And I presume this is your married name. What was your husband's name? Rosanna Harnage. I see. And what was your husband's name?
Fred McDaniel.
She is the widow, I presume, of Mr. Fred McDaniel. I will hand this to Ms. McDaniel and ask her if you would tell us where you were born and who your parents were and where you went to school originally.
I was born in Texas, and my father's name was William Harnage, and I went to school at the female seminary. I think I was about 7 years old when I went in the primary department and went all through and graduated in 1901.
What years were you there? During what years were you
in? In 1980-something. I don't know.
Sorry, 1880?
No, about 1885 or 7, I guess.
85 or 7.
Uh-huh.
And you graduated
In 1901. Then I taught a country school out at Crittenden in Oklahoma. Then I taught in the female seminary. I taught the primary department.
What year did you teach?
In 1903, I taught the primary department in the female seminary. I had a lot of little Indian girls, about 6 and 7 years old, in my department. I taught them to speak English and taught them as well as I could. And we ate in the dining room, and I had them all at the table, and the little girls taught me to talk Cherokee. And we had a rule that we had to ask for everything in Cherokee, which we did. And I learned some Cherokee, but as the years have passed, I've forgotten it all.
Are you part Cherokee?
I am the 1/16 Cherokee.
But you don't remember any Cherokee now. I was hoping to get someone to talk Cherokee on tape. Now, I was hoping maybe it would be you, but it will not.
Well, I've just forgotten it. I didn't keep up with it.
You were born in Oklahoma, in Indian Territory.
I was born down in Texas, Kilgore, Texas.
How did you happen to come to the territory?
My father and mother my father bought a farm near Fort Smith, and we moved to Oklahoma. I don't remember what year. I was just about 6 or 7 years old, maybe not that old.
And did you have to have a percentage of Cherokee to buy land in the Indian Territory?
No, I don't think so.
You did not. Of course, this was Indian Territory.
Yes, uh-huh.
But you bought in Indian
Yeah,
Territory.
uh-huh.
Did you buy from an individual? Did you?
Well, yes, I think so. My father owned a farm down near Fort Smith. It was Indian Territory. And we lived down there for a little while. Then we moved to Tahlequah.
I had wondered whether were white people able to buy land in the Indian Territory?
Well, I think they were.
They were.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know. I wondered if
Uh-huh.
they have certain percentage of
No, I think they were allowed to buy.
What, you grew up in what town now?
In Kilgore, Texas.
Kilgore, I mean,
I just was,
first in Oklahoma.
yes, but I first came to Oklahoma. I don't think I was about 5 years old when I came here, and I just grew up here in Oklahoma.
What was it like here during your first years? Could you describe your community that you lived in?
Well, where this little store down here is, night store right on the corner, we lived in a little house down there. And right on the corner, there was a little house there, and we lived in that for a while. And then we moved up with Mrs. Lozier. She lived up on the old Lozier place. We moved up there with her and lived there for a while.
What was life like in the territory? What were some of the things you did, for instance, for recreation? What were some of the things?
Oh, we would go skating, go rabbit hunting, and go swimming.
Where did you swim?
Out in the Illinois River. My mother was one of the best swimmers that ever was. I think she taught all the kids in Oklahoma to swim. In Tahlequah, to swim.
Swim on the Illinois.
In the Illinois River.
Where did you skate?
Just any pond, any place where the ice was. And then we'd go, in the wintertime, we'd go rabbit hunting.
What animals could you hunt? What animals?
Rabbits.
Just rabbits.
Uh-huh.
Were you a good rabbit hunter?
Well, I enjoyed going, anyway. And then we used to have a lot of fox hunts.
Tell about them.
Well, my brother was at the head of it, and we would all go horseback. And there used to be an old Negro man lived out here called Stick Ross Farm. And we had horns that were made out of steer horns, And we'd blow that, and we'd get all the dogs and go out there, and they'd round up a fox, and then we'd all race him as much as we could.
Well, did you catch them usually?
Oh, I believe we caught one at one time.
How'd you do it?
With the dogs. The dogs to catch them.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Can you think of any other diversions that you had? What about in the cultural area? In the area of music, in the area of drama, or anything like that took place?
Well, after I came to the seminary, I took music for a while. And then I was in all the plays that we had. We had quite a number of plays and all. And I was in those.
Now, you first came to the seminary before 1890. What was it like about that time?
Well, we had all, of course, nobody but Indian girls could go, And the school would be full, and we all enjoyed it, all getting together.
Was that 2 3-story building built at that time?
This old building here was built at that time.
3 stories.
Uh-huh.
Do you know when it was built?
I don't remember.
I understand that called the 3rd floor, at least around 1901, one of the students who was later than you, around 1901, called it the Holler Dormitory or something. Did they call it that at the time you were there?
Yes, and then there was a space up there, I guess about as big as this room, that we would all slip down there and dance.
Were you not supposed to?
Oh, no, we weren't supposed to. And if we'd get caught down there, I got caught down there in dancing, and I was given a lot of demerits.
What happened if you got demerits?
We couldn't leave the building. We'd have to stay at the building.
How often did you were you allowed to leave the campus?
Well, we were supposed to leave every weekend if we didn't have any demerits.
If you had demerits,
We'd have to stay over.
What was your entertainment? What would you do over the weekend?
We always, we had our study hours, and then we always went to, we had our went to church at the Methodist church, or else we had a minister come out and have service on Sunday afternoon.
Was this a Methodist mission school, or was it?
Well, I think it was government school.
Government.
Mm-hmm.
You had mentioned you went to the Methodist church. Did the Methodist church have any connection with the school, or
None
most of
specially.
it just happened to be members?
It just happened to be members.
Tell about church services during that period.
Well, they were just about the same as they are now.
You use the organ.
Yes, they used the organ. Uh-huh.
Now you were there up until about 1901. Then you began
Yes.
teaching what year?
1902. But I taught in the seminary in 1903.
Oh, you did.
Uh-huh.
You were teaching then during the period of the St. Louis exposition.
I went to the St. Louis exposition.
Okay. Now I understood that the seminary had a display of some sort there. Could you tell about that?
No, I couldn't tell. I don't remember about that.
That the Indian tribes all had them, and that they.
That was the first year that Will Rogers was with the Wild West Show, and he was performing at the World's Fair. And I went with Ann Severe, another girl, and we were chaperoned by our superintendent from Muskogee. We stayed at the Inside Inn at the fair. And Will Rogers was, of course, in the Wild West Show. And after his show was over, he would come and get Ann and I, and we would get in the car in the stagecoach and ride around when the Indians would shoot the stagecoach up. Then after that was over, Will and I would do the pike.
Do the pike?
They call the pike, when you go down. We'd get out then and see what all was going on in the fair.
Tell about Will Rogers' performance in the World Fair.
Well, he did roping in the World's Fair.
Did he do much talking?
Well, yes, he did. He would talk some, but mostly there was roping.
Tell us something about Will Rogers, anything you can think of from your personal relationship with.
Well, Will and I were sweethearts, as you might say, and we would always go places. And Will was kind of a cowboy-like fellow, and all the rest of the girls didn't want to go with him. But I liked him, and we got along so well together. And Bill wanted me to get married then and go to New York with him. But no, I couldn't see it because Bill said I don't have anything but old Comanche. And I couldn't see going to New York with just old Comanche, so that was the last time I think that I saw Will. But he came back one time after that and was in Oklahoma City, I believe, and he called me up and I went over there and he gave a performance and I went to it.
Tell us something about Will as a personality in his early days.
Well, he was a jolly good fellow, and he was a kind of cowboy type. He never dressed up like the other boys, but he was always full of fun and full of life, and could always have a good time with him.
At what age did you first know Will?
Oh, I guess I was about 16.
And he was about how old?
Oh, about 18, I guess. He was just.
Was this before he went into show business?
Yes, This was just before he went to New York.
How did he get interested in show business?
Just roping, I guess. At the different, they used to have like they have here,
Did he do rodeo prior to that? Any rodeo roping?
Well, yes, he did quite a bit of roping.
Did you see him do the amateur performances before he got into professional?
No, I didn't. Well, yes, I did too. I saw him in Prior Creek, I believe, prior.
Can you think of anything else or any instances concerning Will Rogers that might be of interest, that might shed some light on the personality of an individual?
No, I can't think of anything.
The now thinking in terms of the 1890s during the Cherokee or the Indian School, it was called the full name of the female seminary was what?
Well, that was it, the female seminary.
That was it. What were the entertainment activities that you did on campus during the 1890s?
Well, we used to have recitals, what we called recitals, and musicals.
And you said you were active in music, is that correct?
I was, yes. And I took music.
What did you play?
I was a I just belonged to the chorus. Was soprano in the chorus.
Did your chorus play away from the school?
No, it was just here.
Within the school? What about the athletics? I know you had a basketball team later.
Well, I was a member of the basketball team.
What position did you play?
Right guard.
Right guard. And who all did you play?
Some of the girls in my class, and the one I particularly remember is Mrs. Beulah Edmondson, who was, what was the big politician's name in New York?
In New York?
Oh, I can't think of the name now. She married this man in New York, and then she went to Scotland to live, and she had a castle, and I think she died down in Texas someplace.
On your basketball team, what other teams? Can you remember any other teams you played?
No, I can't.
You do not. Or any particular exciting games?
No.
I understood from one of the interviews that we made with one of the ladies who was in school about 1901. She said that the girls used to play tackle football on their own, and she said they wore pads and everything.
Yes.
They had a field hidden away so that the boys couldn't go watch them play. Did you all play football?
No, we didn't play football.
This was about 1902 or 3.
I guess so.
But you didn't get to play football?
No, I played basketball.
What other athletics did you have?
I think that was all.
That was the main thing. Tell about the curriculum, the study curriculum you had during this period.
Well, we had study hour every evening. We'd have an hour study hour.
What courses did you take?
Well, I just took the ordinary course.
That would be English and math?
Yes, English and math.
How many students did you have during the 1890s?
I don't remember.
You don't remember? A couple of hundred or more?
Oh, yes, we had that many.
Can you think of any of the pranks that you all may have pulled on your teachers that you may admit now? Your teachers are probably, they won't hear this tape, so you can tell about some of them.
Well, I just don't remember. I don't believe I have any.
You won't confess any?
No.
Well, now you were on the other side of the fence for a while. You were a teacher. Can you think of some of the pranks that some of the students tried to pull on you while you were teaching?
Well, I used to, of course, at 9 o'clock I would have to go up and down the halls to see that everybody was in bed and the lights were all out. And the girls would get in the closets and have the lights burning, and maybe they would have something in there to eat or something, and that would be after 9 o'clock.
What kind of lamps did they have?
Oh, just little oil lamps with a chimney, just like the old timers.
How did you heat your building there? Was it wood?
Yes.
Did the heat pretty well?
Well, yes, pretty well.
Can you think, in terms of your period with the seminary, either as a student or as a teacher, some of those people in the leadership of the school who were most memorable characters to you? Some of the most memorable people.
You mean of teachers?
Yes, of teachers, those who played a role in the
Well,
building.
Miss Wilson was our principal, and Miss Lillian Alexander, and Miss Mental Foreman.
Which period was this? Which year?
I think that was the second year that I was there.
In the 1890s.
Uh-huh.
Can you think of any, what teacher would you say had the most personal influence on you?
Miss Wilson, the principal.
Tell about her.
Well, she was an old maid, and had been, I think, in a girls' school back east someplace. But we were all afraid of Miss Wilson, just scared to death of her. But after I graduated and was a teacher, I was very fond of her, and we got along very nicely. And I found out she wasn't quite as cross as we thought she was when we went to school to her.
Were you there when do you remember when the male seminary burned?
I was just a little kid. I remember when it burned. I remember all of them coming in, and I remember running down the hill down to see them pass.
Do you know what caused the fire?
They said that men had been there that afternoon, and somebody laid a pipe upon one of the posts, and the pipe hadn't gone out. And it caught fire from that. Was what I heard, that was it.
Can you, now you started teaching after, were you taught in the seminary for how many years?
Just 1 year.
1 year. Then where did you teach after that?
Oh, I taught in Salisaw and Vian and Tahlequah.
Tell a little about Salisaw. Now, this was about 1905, 4 or 5, wasn't it?
Well, I think so.
What was Salisaw like about 1905?
Salisaw was just a small town, and I taught, I think, the 8th grade down there.
Was it smaller then than it is now?
Yes,
What were the schools like there at that time?
Just like all the other schools. And in the teaching here, as I taught in the seminary, I had the primary department, and I had all little full-blood girls from 6 and 7 years old. And one thing I'll say that I always remember, at that time I had ordered a dress from Kansas City, and of course Tahlequah was just a little town, and I just thought I was about the smartest thing and the best looking thing that ever was, because I had a dress from Kansas City, and I would just put that dress on and wear it in the schoolroom. I didn't notice that I had been wearing it every day. And one day at recess, a little girl, her name was Five Killer, little Mary Five Killer. She was an Indian girl, but she just reminded me of a Maltese kitten. She was a blonde. She came up to me and she said, "Miss Harnage, don't you have any other dress to wear but that one?" And that showed me how observant the Cherokee children are. And believe me, I didn't wear that dress anymore.
Why don't you talk a little about the Cherokee children, the Cherokee culture as you saw it in your day?
Well, they were very observant, and they were very quick to learn, and they were anxious to learn. And if there was anything they didn't know, they would find out and wonder why it was like that. For instance, we had in the schoolroom, we had a telephone up on the wall, and outside at that, and someone called me on the telephone, and I went out and was talking, and a little full-blood girl came in, and she saw me talking, and she looked, and she said, mm-mm. She couldn't see anybody, but she saw me talking. And after she stayed there until I got through, and when I got through, she said, "Who talking to?" And I said I was talking to the man on the outside. Then I explained to her what the telephone was.
The telephone was fairly new then, wasn't it?
Yes, Yes, the telephone was fairly new.
How don't you describe the telephone at that time? You know, people today have never seen that telephone, that type of telephone. What did it look like?
Well, it was just kind of a box thing up on the wall, and we had to take the thing down, the receiver down, and listen through it. And the first telephone that was brought into Oklahoma, Ed Hicks brought that telephone into Oklahoma, and I worked in the telephone office. But I thought it was the most wonderful thing that I had ever seen, ever known, that we could talk to people from the outside and the inside of the world. But I didn't work down there very long, just, I think about a week or two.
Tell about the radio when it came in and the part that it played in the culture of the changing culture of the community.
Well, the thing that I heard, of course, I had graduated and I had gone and I was in Oklahoma City working in the highway department. And I lived at a boarding house, and a man who worked for the telephone company had a little thing, and you put the things in your ears to hear. And so he came, I went in his office one day, and he let me hear over that radio. I thought the most wonderful thing I had ever seen, that I could hear New York and different places.
What was the first thing you heard on the radio? Do you remember?
I think it was something in New York. I don't remember what it was.
What station was it? Do you remember that?
I don't even remember that.
You worked for the highway department what year?
Yes.
When did you work for them?
Oh, goodness, I don't
Who was
remember.
governor? Do you remember
Governor Trapp. Governor Trapp was the governor. I worked for 12 years in the highway department.
Did you?
And helped impeach 4 governors.
Did you? Tell about that.
Well, it was just all politics.
Two
Governor
governors impeached and 2 lieutenant governors came in.
Governor Henry Johnson
Yes.
and
Walton.
and Walton. Those two.
Those two. And you were in the highway department.
And I was in the highway department at that
What was the feeling working for the state at the time that your governors were being impeached? What was the general feeling in your department?
Well, they just all felt like that it was all right. They was just for the government, for who was, they were loyal.
Do you recall what was built in highways? What were the highways? What did you have in the way of highways? And of course, there were no 4 lanes and not.
Oh, well, we just had the good roads.
What was built? What were some of the major highways built while you were with the department?
I just don't
You don't
remember.
remember those. Thinking in terms of the seminary, backing back to the seminary, can you think of any of the outstanding events or situations that occurred while you were a student? Those things that are memorable. There was the World's Fair. That was one.
Yes.
What were some of the other outstanding events that involved?
Well, I just don't remember.
You don't remember it. And you don't recall when you were a teacher. Of course, you were just a teacher 1 year.
Yes, just 1 year.
What are the personalities that were well known, either state or national? You knew Will Rogers. Other than Will Rogers, can you think of any other
Governor,
names?
Senator Tom Owens.
Senator
Robert
Owens.
Robert Owens, I mean.
Tell us about Senator Owens.
Well, he was a very wonderful fellow, and I knew him, and I knew his wife.
Can you tell us any stories or about him or any reminiscences about him?
No, I don't think so.
We have a tape recording, incidentally, of one of his speeches that was used at were you at the Apology when they had the dedication?
No, I wasn't there then.
It was played
Yes.
at that dedication.
Mm-hmm.
But you recall no personal experiences dealing with Senator Owens that might give us some insight into his personality.
No.
And other than Senator Owens, can you think of any other personality?
James Davenport, who was in the legislature, I think.
Do you think of any personal reminiscences dealing with him that might be of interest?
No.
Any others you think of offhand?
No, I don't believe so.
Can you think of anything maybe you haven't told that we ought to be on tape? It's a very good recording.
No, I don't believe I have.
Well, it's been wonderful to visit, and this is Penn Woods interviewing for the Oklahoma Living Legends, and we have just visited with Mrs. Rosanna Harnage McDaniel in Tahlequah.